Welcome in the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You can also find us on Dash Radio. Make sure you download the Dash Radio app and then search for Nothing But Net. That's their exclusive NBA channel. And for some reason, they decided to give us the 10 a.m. slot, prime slot, every day, Monday through Friday, so we can spread, I don't know, I guess our guy Greg Sylvander would call it heat culture all over the United States. Also, check out 5reasonsports.com. Spell it out, F-I-V-E, reasonsports.com for all of our latest content. That includes our podcast. New Ballscast is out. I know a lot of people have been anxiously awaiting that one. It's more than 2 hours, though, so reserve yourself some time. And also a new 3 yards per carry as the Dolphins have started camp. Also, check out one of our great sponsors, one of our favorite sponsors. We got to go pick up some of this beer. Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official craft beer of Inter Miami, the Miami Marlins, and most importantly of those three, 5 Reasons Sports Network. They are South Florida's actual independent brewery. Biscayne Bay is owned by local guys who employ people in this community to make their beer right here in South Florida. These guys are committed to our community and support 5 Reasons Sports so we can keep bringing you all the local sports content that you can handle. If you care about supporting local business and drinking amazing beer, grab their stuff, Marlins Lager, Miami Pale Ale, Tropical Bay IPA, at all major retailers throughout South Florida. It's the beer we're drinking at 5 Reasons Sports. And now, today's episode.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a Miami Heat and NBA podcast from Ethan Skolnick with Alphonse Sidney, a.k.a. Alf954. Brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome back to 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Here is today's floor plan. The Miami Heat beat the Boston Celtics, win by 4 without Jimmy Butler tonight. Impressive performance, one that a lot of us, including myself, were not expecting when we did our pregame stream. Miami goes to 2-1 in the bubble now and gains a game on Boston, so still in striking distance of that number 3 seed, even though the Celtics will retain the tiebreaker. We're going to get into a number of topics today, including the sprained ankle or something that Goran Dragic seemed to do at the end of the game when he stepped on Jason Tatum. Get into Kelly Olynyk as a starter tonight. No Myers Leonard again. DJJ and Andre Iguodala playing roles, and Bam Adebayo being aggressive. I've got Alphonse Sidney and Greg Sylvander here with me. You can follow him at Alf954. Also, Greg Sylvander at Greg Sylvander. We may be joined later by Alex Toledo. He's going to be on those Zoom calls. We're trying to cover everything from everywhere, so he'll be on with Spoelstra and the players. He may pop on later. Otherwise, we'll hear from him a different day. All right, let's get right to it. Alf, we've talked about the Heat's defense a lot in the first 2 games, and that we were encouraged by it, considering that they didn't defend very well in that last scrimmage game against Memphis, and the sky was falling. I thought for the most part tonight, they really they made things difficult on Kemba. They made things difficult on the Celtic wings. They did not allow the Celtics to get off from a 3-point shooting perspective. We'll talk about the offense, but I think the defense looked pretty good tonight.
Look, man, the Heat have not allowed over 110 points in all 3 games in the bubble, right? And how many? I asked Nikias and Christian this because I would like to know, because I don't like to do research for myself because I'm lazy. But they're like, I don't know who else has done that. Who else has held every team they played 110 points or less in the bubble? Like, I don't think that's happened. So now we can also say the Heat haven't been a fantastically scoring team, but what they've done is grind other teams down in a situation where nobody else has been able to do it. So we can complain about Kendrick Nunn and the point of attack defense. We can complain about just the 3-point shots being given up. We can complain about the referees, and honestly, I'm going to call it Saturday was bullshit. Not Saturday, I'm sorry. Yesterday was bullshit, and today was bullshit when it comes to the refs. And honestly, during a Tony Brothers game, I did laud them for actually calling it straight. You know what I'm saying? For most of the game, like I felt like they swallowed the whistles. They were doing a really good job. Then it comes to the fourth quarter and they're calling all kinds of bullshit. So what I will say is this: it's like the Heat have overcome a lot to be 2-1 right now, and the one mainstay, which surprisingly, when we talked about this thing going into the preseason, is their defense. Like I don't know if you guys would have called that. I wouldn't have. Their defense has been solid and strong.
Yeah, their defense has been better than expected, and I want to focus on certain parts of that defense. I feel, Greg, we talk a lot about point of attack, and look, Kendrick Nunn got the start again today, and again, he was a little better offensively early and then struggled, and then Ira had a tweet that I agree with, and I do agree with some of those, where it's kind of like you're sort of holding on with Kendrick and waiting for Dragic to come in. And I felt like you needed Dragic to stabilize things in the third quarter. But I think overall, when you look at them defensively, I think what Crowder and Iguodala are giving you in a lot of ways is kind of making up for some of the point of attack problems, because they're so good at switching everything and getting out to the three-point shooters that really, I mean, again, they mitigated. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers right now. Okay, let's look at what Tatum, Brown, and Hayward did tonight. These are three guys who can get off on you. Tatum was 6 of 11. He was 9 of 9 from the line. He had 23, but he was not dynamic as he can sometimes be. Hayward was 5 of 13, but 0 of 5 from 3. Jaylen Brown was 9 of 23, but 0 of 5 from 3, and only got to the line twice and missed both of them. Yes, they scored between them, at 38, 56 points, but I think you take it, right? And I think the Heat's wings and then throwing Derek Jones Jr. in there, who I thought was really impactful defensively, they sort of make up for it.
They made them work, and that is huge. I think that one of the things that we've talked about previously, but you didn't know if it was actually going to happen the way we discussed, was that Iguodala and Crowder, that their ability to switch, but also their smarts on defense, the anticipation, the hands, the ability to get like in traffic and stuff like that, get steals. These are the little things that were going to help this defense from a point of attack perspective. Even some rim protection can be guarded that way. You can kind of mitigate some of what you don't have. And we saw a lot of that on full display today. I thought that Gordon Hayward was particularly inefficient. And another huge one that's underrated from a defensive perspective is Jason Tatum has been getting 8 assist games, 5 assist games, 7 assist games. So he's not only been the dynamic scorer, but he's been a really good facilitator. And that's when it really becomes cumbersome to try to figure out how to stop him. He had 1 assist and 4 turnovers tonight. So all those things kind of lead up to a game without Jimmy. The cards were, the deck was stacked against us, and they pulled it out.
I will say, like, the what I've always liked about the zone, and I think I've said exhaustively on 5 on the Floor that I'm not the biggest fan of the zone. What I've liked about the zone is when you surprise team with the zone in spurts. What happened before what happened before the Iggy trade, the Iggy Crowder trade? Honestly, it should be called the Crowder trade at this point, right? Because the guy has been fantastic. But before the Crowder trade, there was a lot of zone just to make up for the fact that you didn't have defenders because Justice was hurt. Because without Andre and Iggy, who else did you have?
Alf Eric said that today. Eric said that. I mean, Eric Reed said it basically, because he asked the question of Spoelstra. He said, not playing any zone in the first two games here. And he said, well, we had to play it out of necessity. They don't have to play it out of necessity now, but they can spring it on a team. And to me, that was, along with Jimmy not playing, which we need to address how long that's going to be, that was another story tonight, was that Eric coached this game very much to win.
That was a surprise.
And I don't
Boston
think any of us
called that.
Right, and Boston played to win. But there's some teams, we saw Milwaukee today with Giannis playing under 20 minutes and resting Lopez and resting Matthews. Miami played to win tonight. Boston played to win tonight. But springing the zone, I think, shows you what he's going to do in some of these series, to give you a different look. I think we should touch on the Butler thing before we move forward, because people who didn't watch the game tonight are going to kind of look at the box score and wonder what happened there. Greg, because Eric Spoelstra said an hour before the game, Jimmy's playing. I mean, everybody's playing. Everybody's available. And then Jimmy wasn't available because of an ankle. Are you hearing anything related to this? Because I've been trying to dig up what exactly happened here in those 45 minutes.
It's funny you position it that way because it's kind of been a really elusive topic because for the things you just said, like Spo put everybody out there as available. There was no indication that there was anything lingering at all from Jimmy. So to hear that come down like right before tip, it's been really difficult to chase any information regarding that. I would anticipate that it's probably nothing serious and they're being really precaution. It's just a precautionary measure. But now when you see Goran go down with a tweak, you start to think if they are playing for real and they're going for as many wins as possible, can you survive any stretch without Jimmy and Goran? And if Goran has to miss a couple and Jimmy is on the verge of being able to play, you may see him push it a little bit. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what I would anticipate is like maybe Jimmy would sit the next one, but then he'll be back for the weekend.
Well, but
that's pure speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, can we talk about one of the things I remember during the Big Three era is Eric Spoelstra would always say that Chris Bosh provided relief points all the time, where like the offense bogged down, things like there was just Dwayne and LeBron are sitting, or even when Dwayne or LeBron were in the game and things just weren't working. Chris Bosh could find a way to score and give you those relief points. And those things are so huge when you're up by 8, you were up by 14, and someone's knocked it down to 6. One guy that can get you those 2 points, those 3 points, those 2 points, that can keep it at 6 and 8 until the reinforcements come back in, right? I feel like Goran provides so much of that. And I think that's why sometimes the plus minus when it comes to Goran is not very indicative of how he's played, right? Like tonight, there were times where it was just like, okay, they need Goran to come back in and calm this thing down, right? And
because they don't have anybody else. They don't have anybody. They don't have anybody else. And he ended up playing 28 minutes on the second night of a back-to-back. And we said that before the game. Is he going to play 30 again? And this does get back to where Greg was going because, look, they got to make. They're 2-1. They've grabbed 2 wins in the bubble. Okay, they are within striking distance of Boston. Okay. They've got, an Indiana team, TJ Warren's averaging 3,000 points a game. They get them twice. They got a Phoenix team where Devin Booker made a fall away. They're 3-0 in the bubble. They're competing for something, and he made a fall away game winner over the 2 best defensive wings in the entire league tonight in Kawhi and Paul George. And I think Spoelstra's got to make a decision now. Are you going for it or not? Because to me, if the worst that you're going to do now, if you can grab, say, one more win here, is the worst you're going to do is be in that 4-5 somewhere. And Dragic's ankle is gimpy, and Jimmy's ankle is gimpy. I don't know. Maybe you play some Gabe Vincent because I think you've kind of gotten out of these first 3 games what you wanted to get.
Yeah, for sure.
They're defending better. They just played 2 playoff-like games against 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They won one, and they could have, maybe should have, without that flagrant call, with a few more threes dropping, won the other. I feel if you're Eric, like you combine that with what they got out of, and they've rebounded from that Memphis scrimmage. I think you may just look at it and say, I'm not gonna risk it. I got Jimmy and I got Goran, and I need that I'm 100% going forward. I want to get back in tonight's game, but let's address that overall point. Should that be the direction they go?
I'll just say this. I think that even if those 2 guys need to take some rest, there are parts of it that are not negative in terms of you essentially are going to force Kendrick Nunn to shoot his way or figure his way out of this slump, or you're going to know that he's not going to be equipped for a playoff run. Tyler Hero is going to get extended run, and I think that that's going to be a good thing. Kelly Olynyk had 8 assists tonight. So there's also going to be elements of having your big men being able to facilitate a little bit more. So while they may not chalk up a bunch of victories this way, it may actually enable them to figure out a few other things that may be able to work in the playoffs when you have a full complement of guys. So I don't necessarily look at it as that negative or that 9-1-1 of the situation.
Al, should they go for it or hold back?
I honestly, I don't. I'm at the point where I don't think they should hold back per se. Like, and this is how I've always looked at things like this, where, yeah, tonight, if Jimmy has any kind of soreness, it's not a playoff game, sit down. Like, it's not a big deal, right? I guarantee tonight, if it was a playoff game, Jimmy would have played. So same thing with Goran. If Goran has any kind of soreness, you don't play. Like that's where I look at. That's how I look at it as. But the guys who are playing on the floor, like Spo tonight, which I didn't think he was going to do, Spo coached to win this game. He played 9 guys. The guy who got the least amount of minutes was Kendrick Nunn, who we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast about not playing great defense and honestly also being a liability at times on offense, only got 17 minutes. That's the least amount of minutes anybody played tonight. That is a playoff rotation to beat the 3rd seed in the East. Like he coached tonight to win. So I think what Spo, the signal he's sending to players is, if you have any kind of discomfort, you will sit down. We don't need you to come out here playing through discomfort because these seeding games are not that important. But if you are dressed and ready to play, you are going to play, and we're going to try to win. So I think if you look at it in that direction, I think they're going to let the chips fall where they may, but they're not throwing any of these games. They're not throwing them.
I think that's a good point. And as we go, Alex is on the Zoom calls right now, and so we're going to read you some of this stuff. Eric Spoelstra is talking right now, and then after the break, we'll get into some more specifics on some of the players. Spoelstra on Kelly Olynyk. You can't put him in a positional box. He's a hybrid in his own right. You mentioned the 8 assists. Kelly played 18 minutes in the first half tonight. No Myers Leonard. No third big. They're playing 2 bigs. They're going to play them together, and then they're going to stagger them. And we've said, look, this is not a matchup I thought Myers was going to play a lot in anyway. But let's put it this way. If they do go head-to-head with Milwaukee and you don't see him at all against Brook Lopez, I think you've got a pretty good indication that Myers is become, at that point, at most, a situational player kind of going forward. And we'll get you some more of Alex's comments here as we go. I also think you mentioned, that he coached this game to win. I think the national TV audience got to look at the Heat again today. And I was reading some of the comments from, and I wasn't watching on that feed because I can't take Reggie, but I was reading some of the comments from from the national writers, and they're sort of marveling at the movement and space in Eric's offense. And it's funny because I do think, again, that Heat fans get myopic about this because they're used to seeing it or they take it for granted. But when for people outside the market, and one thing I tweeted tonight that got a little play is, Alf, you and I talked yesterday about how badly they need another playmaker. And they didn't have one of their 2 biggest playmakers today. But the offense created the plays.
They did it with
running
movement.
The offense to completion, right? Created the plays.
Do you guys think there's anything to be said of these guys gaining confidence again without Jimmy playing?
Well, they are 6-6 now. I mean, they're not awful without him this season.
Yeah, but remember the beginning of the year where we were talking about these guys need to learn how to play without the crutch of Jimmy, right? And they did really well, right? I think they went 2-1. They beat the Bucks in Milwaukee. These guys gained a lot of confidence. I feel like the crutch of Jimmy, and okay, things are bogging down. Well, Jimmy will just get to the line. You know who got to the line tonight? Bam Adebayo.
Yep. It forces them to run sets. It forces guys like Duncan Robinson, like coming off that game last, against Toronto where he's just absent completely and they took him out. For him to come out, hit 5 threes, 21 points, like 6 of 12. He was getting open, looking aggressive. You love to see a bounce game like that from him. But, they took 43 3-pointers. I think that in the Toronto game, they got up 45, and it may have been the franchise record for 3-point field goal attempts. So they're trending in this direction. They're following the metrics. And when you don't have Jimmy, you have to rely on that even more. You got to fire him up. And ultimately, Alpha, I think you're onto something in that this could actually prove to be beneficial down the line.
Well, I think a lot of things have happened that have been beneficial, and I think that's why we haven't sort of panicked over the negative stuff that's occurred, right? So the Memphis game, I panicked a little bit, but I also said I thought that they needed a scrimmage like that because it gave Eric some things to drill down on them because everything had been so sunny up to that point with them. And then we talked about the Toronto game and the loss, but you saw them play well. You saw them compete. You saw mistakes at the end of the game that I think they can work on. And the end of game execution today was better too. And it was better too even without Jimmy in there. And I do think we've seen this a couple times now. And after the break, I want to focus more on Bam because we have seen this a few times where When Jimmy's not there, it's like Bam looks around. It's like, oh, I'm the all-star. And I feel like that epiphany has to happen more often, but we saw it in the Washington game most specifically this season, and I think you saw it a little bit today. But first, a word from another of our great sponsors. Welcome in to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You can also find us every day if you download Dash Radio on your phone and then go to the Nothing But Net channel. We're there every single day, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific. Also check out 5reasonsports.com, because when we do those Zoom calls with the Miami Heat players, my guy Brady Hawk texts me and says, I'll have something up in 3 minutes, and it's there. So if you want the breakdowns of everything that's going on with the Miami Heat, as well as all of our columns, our podcast, 3 Yards Per Carry on the Dolphins is coming back this week. 5 Rings Canes just did a long episode with Gino Torretta, some of the glory days. Also looking forward with King and now at the quarterback for the Canes. So some good times there, provided that there will be football this fall. Also, check out our YouTube channel. We're going to be playing something in this episode from that YouTube channel, something I did on Bam Adebayo today, but we're posting 8 to 10 videos a day on the YouTube channel. Also, check out all of our great sponsors, including the one that I can call our favorite sponsor because it's beer. It's Biscayne Bay Brewing Company. This is the official beer of not only the 5 Reasons Sports Network, but also the Miami Marlins. And yeah, you know, they could use some beer right now, make them feel a little better about what's going on with them. And also Inter Miami. This is South Florida's actual independent brewery, Biscayne Bay Brewing. Biscayne Bay is owned by local guys who employ people in this community to make their beer right here in South Florida. These guys are committed to our community and support 5 Reasons Sports, so we can keep bringing you all the local sports content that you can handle. If you care about supporting local business and drinking amazing beer, grab their stuff, whether it's Marlins Lager, Miami Pale Ale, or Tropical Bay IPA. We might be doing a segment related to that soon at all major retailers throughout South Florida. This is the beer that we're drinking at 5 Reasons Sports. It's Biscayne Bay Brewing. And now, today's episode. All right, Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor. Apologize, audio is a little different today. We will get that corrected later in the week. But my guys, Alex Toledo and Alphonse Sidney, will sound good as always. Here is today's floor plan. We're going to get early on to some of the comments from Eric Spoelstra today as we set up what's going to happen in the third and final scrimmage on Tuesday. We're also going to talk about Bam Adebayo's comments, which were a little bit different than we were expecting. He decided to take a social justice route today instead of a basketball route. And so we're going to get into some of that. And then after we play something from the YouTube channel, we're going to get into a Twitter account. It's kind of a, I don't know, Raptors fan, Knicks fan, I don't know, but it started this whole debate about development, and it, let's just be honest, pissed a lot of Heat fans off over the past 24 hours. So we're going to get into that towards the end. Before we do, we're going to start here. Eric Spoelstra, Alex and Alf, talked today about the plans for the scrimmage. He said he's going to spend the next 3 days getting a glass of wine with his staff, not every single day, and kind of figuring out what direction they're going to go. But he seems to have a plan. Bam Adebayo is going to play. He said that he was going to start. It sounds like everybody is available on the team except perhaps KZ Okpala, who's been dealing with tendonitis. So for Heat fans have been asking, that's the reason that he hasn't been playing. He also said he's been trying to get the players out of the room, stop playing video games, Myers, and get out and get some vitamin D and play some golf. But other than that, he seems to love the environment in the bubble. He again thanked Adam Silver for providing it. We know what's happening with the other sports right now, and the Heat seem to be in a pretty good frame of mind as they go into the third scrimmage. What are we looking for in this game? All right, thanks to safecubbies.com for sponsoring us. Thanks to our guy, Chris, and we might bring him on here again soon. All right, let's get, as we're waiting for Alex to tweet out some more stuff, and also check out 5reasonsports.com. We had a story up there. Our guy, Brady Hawk, puts these things up in 30 seconds after the game. So there's already something up there if you're listening now. This is also from Eric Spoelstra, so let's start here. Bam is a complete basketball player. He wants to win and impact winning on both sides of the floor. He's willing to take on any challenge. That's unique. He should be considered as an all-defensive player. When our defense is good, he's the anchor of it. Defensively, he was excellent today, but I just take that for granted at this point. Like, that's what he is. Yep. It's the offense with him. It's the other side. It's like with Duncan Robinson, the offense we take for granted. It's, did he keep his guy in front of him and not foul, okay? With Bam, it's the opposite. And I just thought, again, when he has a Marcus Smart on him, when he has an put the ball on the deck and get to the free throw line. I know he's been sort of weirdly streaky from the line, but I don't really care if he's.
It's more about getting there than anything.
It's just getting there. It's getting there and putting
11 for 18. I'll take it all day. Like, listen, it's not the greatest percentage, but if he got there 18 times and he got 11 points at the line, I will take that all day long because Bam getting to the line, that's 18 times. Let's say that's 9 possessions, right? That's 9 possessions. You have 11 points on 9 possessions, whether he shoots a great percentage or not. Like 11 points on 9 possessions for Bam is a great percentage. So, like, everyone needs to get off of him about the misses. I mean, listen,
because he makes them a lot of the time. You know
yeah, and we want him to be better than Hassan, right?
Right.
But if he gets to the line 18 times, man, come on, like that is what you want from this young man, like. Well, and especially with a hesitant and non-aggressive first quarter, and then making the adjustment that his team needed him to make, like that's what you want to see from him.
It also bogs the game down a little bit, and I think that is huge and will be huge in the playoffs because this inevitably is going to slow down. I think like when we think about Milwaukee, and I won't veer too far, like one of the things that frightens me about them advancing is like what can they do in the half court late in games? And they're going to have to rely on getting to the line. Well, some of that's going to be true for Miami as well. And if Bam can get there, you get the teams in the penalty early and stuff like that. So it was all good stuff from Bam, even despite the misses.
Do you think necessarily that it is going to slow down that much in the playoffs? I don't know, man.
I think so.
But I think part of the reason it slows down is because of the atmosphere, is because of the pressure that goes into it. It's not going to feel quite the same this time. I mean, I do. You can't replicate that. I mean, even look, by the way, can we speak about the Heat's virtual fans? What the hell was going on with them tonight? Like, what is that?
Tonight it was weird. The other game, it was really good. Because it was our buddy Christian Hernandez was in the front row. But tonight, it just seemed a little off. It almost was like there's people missing from the stands.
Early evening on a Tuesday, like everyone's, we do a lot of drugs and stuff.
Do you think they replicate that? You think they replicate? They were all. I
think so. Like I just
lounge or something. What's going on?
I don't know what. Like, listen, I paused my TV a number of times and went to get myself another cocktail. There weren't as many fist pumps on a Tuesday afternoon. Listen, we're in Miami. Like, there's a lot of things going on. Like, we have a lot of not right now as much as always, but there's a lot of enticing things going on. We can't just get excited on a Tuesday night. Like, it's just not. It's not our deal.
It's Boston, though, man. I mean, there should have been a Paul Pierce sucks chant. I mean, there should have been something that was going on there. There wasn't anything going on. All right, so let's get to some of the other stuff. Speaking of Boston, 2 former Celtics started tonight, played pretty damn well. I want to get into the Kelly thing a little bit more because, Greg, you mentioned how much they're playing through him and Eric trusts him. One thing I said on the stream is I think we've kind of forgotten, and I know we definitely forgot, Alf, when we were doing all these 5 on the Floor episodes, how much Spoelstra relied on him 2 years ago. And it's like we just forgot all of that about Kelly. And there were those, and I know the Heat fans exist about this with just about every player except Bam and Jimmy. There were those who wanted Kelly totally out of the rotation, like didn't want to see Kelly at all. And now how many minutes? Kelly played 18 in the first half tonight. And how many overall?
32.
Well, one thing I will give us credit for, Ethan, we were the ones saying that there's something wrong with Kelly. He must be hurt.
Right.
And Kelly has admitted that himself after All-Star break. So, yes, we forgot Kelly because I think Spose kind of forgot. He forgot Kelly, but I think he knew he wasn't 100%, and we could see it. Like, he just was not being himself. So, yeah. But I just want to give us credit because I feel like you were making us look bad for a second.
Well, no, I don't mean to do that. I don't mean to do that. But I mean, but dial back a year. Remember we were talking about whether they were holding Kelly's minutes down so that he wouldn't get a bonus.
I mean, during this year, there was even talk of, do you think that they're going to look to attach the 2020 pick to Kelly to get rid of his contract to open up more space and stuff like that? And now you go into the offseason. I mean, if things continue at this trajectory, I don't know that really Olynyk can be replaced that easily. I mean, you can't even think in those regards. So it's incredible to see how quickly he's flipped the switch. And I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a change made. I guess, and I don't want to recycle stuff we talked about on the first part, but I never really let you answer the question, Greg. When does Myers play?
I don't think he's going to play unless it's like break in case of emergency kind of situation. I don't necessarily see a role for him at this point unless there's extensive foul trouble or an injury. It's not in the cards. They're going small, and so far it's working defensively. The lineups that they've thrown out have worked so far, so there's just no reason to go there unless some extenuating circumstance.
I mean, the whole Myers is looking very, very, very expendable at this point, and I hate that because I really like him as a person. But even if you talk about the Giannis and the Bucks matchup, if Jay Crowder has done such a good job against guys bigger than him, like, have you ever once thought about it in the last 3 games? No. That Jay Crowder is oversized and mismatched, like
lower body strength, baby.
Bro, he's UD out there. In that respect, he's so goddamn strong that it doesn't matter. So if he has to play some minutes against Giannis, some minutes against Brook Lopez, like, I'd love to see him against Brook Lopez, and just to see how that works out, because what happens is the rotations are a lot quicker with Bam and Jay when a guy like Kendrick Nunn gets broken down, which is I sometimes think Myers Leonard has suffered Kendrick Nunn's defense more than anybody else. Just his foot speed just does not make up for the kind of space that Kendrick Nunn allows opposing point guards. He can't get there quick enough. Jay Crowder and Bam can. So the defense has improved with those guys out there, which is counterintuitive because you're thinking a big guy that can box out another big and is great defense, because Myers Leonard is their best defensive rebounder outside of Bam. So it's counterintuitive. But when you think about the fact you want Kendrick Nunn, you want Goran Dragic out there for shot creation on the offensive end, what do you do defensively to make sure that your rotations can get to the opposing point guards in time? You put guys like Jay Crowder and Bam Adebayo in your front court, and you just hope that Crowder can hold his own against bigger players, and so far he's proven that.
Well, I think the other point that should be made is that the Heat have inverted before, right, in terms of the way that they try to rebound. I mean, they went through the Big Three era relying on their wings to do the large majority of their rebounding. And so here we are again, right? They're going to rely on Jimmy. They're going to rely on times on Iggy. They're going to rely on Crowder. They're going to rely on DJJ to clean up the boards because they don't, they have one plus rebounder who's a big who's playing, because Olynyk is not a plus rebounder and Myers is not playing. And so it's just Bam. And I think there's going to be some games where Heat fans are frustrated because they're closing down possessions, but they can't get the defensive rebound because they don't have another big back there. But I'm with you, Alf. I think what's happened here is I think Eric wants to give Nunn every opportunity to prove he can be, a playoff regular. And maybe Jimmy and Dragic not playing will be the thing that frees him up a little bit, and maybe he plays with Hero a little more. But I think if he is going to play, you're right. There's certain guys you can't play with him right now. And you also can't really play Leonard with Dragic a ton either for the same reason. And so it does leave you kind of, and if Kelly's, the one thing that Myers was giving you other than the defensive rebounding was he was, a 40% plus 3-point shooter this year. But even if Kelly is shooting them at that rate lately, but even if he doesn't shoot them at that rate, he gets up more threes because his release is quicker and because there's more things you can do with him out on the perimeter, whereas Myers is basically relegated to being a spot-up shooter. And so I do think it's the versatility. Again, I larger dose tonight because you needed another ball handler without Jimmy. But I don't think this doesn't have anything to do with playing too many video games or standing for the anthem. It's none of that. This is, I think it's situational, but it's also that maybe Eric didn't like some of what he saw with Myers out there for those 3 games and decided to go another direction. We're going to bring on one of our sponsors here in a second, talk a little bit more from outside, as I call it, outside the bubble now. But there's some Duncan Robinson quotes came in from Alex, so let's get to them. Duncan Robinson, I'm watching film from the Raptors game. I thought I was being a little bit of a spectator, doing some unorthodox things, standing a lot. I just try to keep shooting and doing my job. He mentioned growing up 45 minutes north of Boston and watching the Celtics, said this was important to him, especially with how they struggle versus the Celtics previously. Let's close the loop on this game, and then I want to look ahead to Milwaukee, and then I'm going to bring Mark on. What do you make? Can you make too much of a single game? They beat Toronto twice in the regular season, then they lose a tight game. They lost to Boston twice in the regular season, then they win a tight game. Do we make anything of matchups anymore? Because we've talked so much about matchups. I don't know what you make of them in the bubble.
I don't think you really do. And just late breaking from Woj, the x-rays on Goran Dragic's ankle were negative. So it's a slight sprain. So I don't think that that's going to be anything that hinders him long-term. But to your point, I don't think matchups are the issue. I mean, even if you think about some of the things that have plagued the Heat when they go small, like rebounding, they've only been out rebounded once, and that was tonight. Ultimately, I think that it's not really about the matchups. It's about the way the team is looking, the way the team is shooting. And as long as the defense and the 3-point shooting is there, the matchup doesn't matter. I mean, they've proven they can beat.
Al, for you, where are you on it?
I'm not worried about matchup and I said this in the pregame show. Like, I'm not as worried about matchup as I was going into this. And part of it is, like I said before, the Pacers and the Sixers don't look that much different, right? The Heat's chances, and this might seem wild, that the Heat's chances against the Bucks or the Raptors are about the same to me, if not better against the Bucks than they are against the Raptors, just because what you saw. I think the biggest thing about the Raptors is OG Anunoby and like what he can do to Bam. The versatility of that guy against Bam, like it makes Bam kind of null and void a little bit because he can't bring the ball up against OG. He can bring the ball up against a lot of guys in this league. He can't bring it up against OG, so it kind of nullifies Bam. So I don't think any of these matchups are extra favorable to the Heat. I think Pacers and Sixers, to be honest, are both kind of lunch meat for the Heat. I think they could probably beat both those teams in 6 or 7. And then when it comes to the next round, I'd almost rather face the Bucks than I would the Raptors. So at this point, it's about getting to the playoffs healthy in my estimation. Like, the only thing I would not want to do is drop to the 6th seed and have to play the Celtics in the first round. Like, that's the biggest thing you want to avoid, right? You do not want to play Celtics first round. So that's the thing you avoid. And after that, you just – like right now, if Dragic has any discomfort, you don't play him until he feels 100%.
Right. And I don't think you're dropping a 6. I think getting this win after the Denver win, which when the schedule came out didn't look like a given because you thought they'd have their guards, to be 2-1 at this point, I think you look at it, if you can pick up 2 more wins somewhere here before the end of this thing, you're not dropping a 6. You're just not. Now I know Indy's 3-0, but you know the way Philly's, and I know Philly's got a soft schedule, but the way Philly's playing, and you have the tiebreaker on both teams, I think you're okay with 4. I think if they can get to 4, you're going to be certainly not in that 6th spot. You're not going to fall behind both of them. And so I think that you're going to be in pretty good shape. All right. We're going to let Greg go. We're going to bring on our next guest, who you know is a sponsor here on the program. He's responsible for those Vice wheels. And that's our guy, Mark Dela Cruz with You Break Wheel Fix. Mark, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
He's got the Heat hat. That's he's got the
that's a dope ass hat. I know people can't see it. It's just like it's like this.
It's got the suede.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like honestly, I'm too old to be hip anymore. I like it. I'm hoping it's cool for young people.
I'm probably older than you are.
Oh shit! Well.
Well, you're not older. You're not older than I am, Mark. I'm sure.
Nobody's older than you are, Ethan.
All right, we're gonna get to some Heat talk here in a second. But Mark, tell me a little about You Break Wheel Fix.
So You Break Wheel Fix, we are a wheel repair and refinishing company. We specialize in repairs of any damaged, bent, cracked wheels. We offer custom finishes. So if folks are bored with their current look of their wheels, we can kind of give it a brand new look. We do a lot of different styles from your standard, finishes all the way up to, sports themes. And, we've done a couple of dolphin themed wheels. We've done some white hot heat themed wheels. We've even done some Vice themed brakes. So we have a variety of different offerings. We have about 15 years of experience, and we love wheels. So anything from service and repair to custom, U-Brake Wheel Fix has it all. So
you're based. Just tell everybody where you're based. Like I said, one of the things with our sponsors is they all come on here wearing Heat hats or Dolphin hats. Where are you based?
So we're local. We're in North Miami. We're just south of Aventura, right off of Biscayne and Northeast 146th Street.
All right. So North Miami. All right. So let's get to it. We don't coddle anybody here on Five on the Floor. We throw them right in the analysis. We throw them right in the analysis mix. What have you seen first 3 games of the bubble? First 3 real games.
I'm really impressed by the sharpness of how all the teams look. They don't look rusty. I'm actually watching the Boston game right now since I was working earlier and just getting a chance to watch the team a little bit. But, again, impressed by how a lot of the teams look really sharp. And again, just hoping for the Heat to, get these seeding games out of the way, and so we can get to real business and go to the playoffs. So I just found out about Goran's ankle injury just now, waiting for to come online with you guys. So I'm still not there yet. I'm still in the second quarter, just taking it all in. But, I'm wondering to myself how we're going to pay all these guys. So, Duncan, Bam, all of a sudden, guys that again, the Heat, kudos to them. Because I'm old enough to remember when the Heat just were the team to sign the quality free agents and never developed, and then all of a sudden now here we are, 5-6 years and just developing guys off the street. It's impressive.
Yeah, I actually threw something out about Derek Jones Jr. today and got a lot of commentary about it. Just that I don't really know how to price him. I don't know, now if I don't know where his value is. Like we've talked about it a lot, but you see him not really play a lot for a couple of games, and you're like, okay, he's replaceable. You can find other wings. And then you kind of see a 22-year-old who's closing out on shooters and guarding point guards and cutting and making plays at the rim, and you're like, okay, maybe he's worth $10 million a year.
Yeah, I think what happens with this stuff, and listen, I love DJJ, but we sometimes teams and fan bases overvalue their own guys. Like I love Derek Jones Jr., but there's a lot of guys that can do what he does, right? When we talk about his defense on Tatum, honestly, I thought Jay Crowder did a better job on Tatum than Derek Jones Jr. did, because Tatum could not bully Jay Crowder, and he wasn't so quick that Crowder couldn't catch up to him. There were times that Tatum could bully DJJ a little bit. So my thing is, I just hope that the same thing that with Myers Leonard, with a lot of these guys that are free agents this summer, I hope that the Heat don't overvalue their guys like they've done in the past with James Johnson, Dion Waiters, Tyler Johnson. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I'm hoping that they don't overvalue. And I hope the Heat fan base doesn't lose their mind when this team is not going to look the same next season.
But Mark mentioned it, and so I want to get to this because I feel like we've yo-yoed a little bit on Dragic too, because I've talked about, as another guy's going to be a free agent, and I've talked a lot about how I thought he was going to have a great sort of bubble run because this was set up for him, just in the types of competitions he's had in the past, and he's going to get a little bit more rest and get away from some of the distractions. And I just thought for him it would be a really good place to be. And then you and I have had a lot of debates about, can you play him in none? Can you keep both of them? And, even maybe you just let, Goran walk next year. And now, as you said earlier in the episode, like we're back to Goran being invaluable for this team, where you're like, okay, is he going to be okay with the bad ankle?
That's the season. So
right.
I like with any other offseason, I think what happens is, and Mark, you're on Twitter. I see you on Twitter. I see you on Instagram. You've seen the rumors. So I think there's things that can maybe be done this offseason to improve this team. And if it can't happen, then yes, guys like Goran, probably you give him a big contract just for this summer to bridge you to the 2021, and kind of like for a makeup deal kind of thing. And there's a lot that can be done. But if you could make a move this summer to get a guard, a two-way guard, you have to make that move, right?
I mean, from a pure fan standpoint, I don't have the level of analytics that I always hear you guys kicking back and forth. But from my standpoint, I just see a lot of opportunity just in the next 2 years, and I think everything is about the summer of 21. And I'm looking at the Memphis trade now, and was Jay Crowder the one that was the key piece in that trade, more so than even
it was supposed to be Iggy, but it looks like Jay Crowder's a key piece, right?
Exactly. And so, again, there's so many rumors, and that's the beauty. Sometimes I think that the off-court transactions are more impressive than the actual games, right? Just because everyone has this guy coming to the Heat and that guy coming to the Heat, but just like anything else, you got to give to get. So what is it that you're going to let go?
No, you don't, Mark. You're not thinking like a fan, Mark. I'm not going to let you go there. You're not thinking like a fan now because Heat fans never have to give to get. It's always going to give you 3 second-round picks, so you're going to give us Bradley Beal. That's how that works. Yeah. I do think you're right. I mean, the transaction game has become bigger than the real games. In a sense, one of the things I like about the whole bubble environment is that the focus has been put on the games. I mean, you just have games all day. And I think a lot of people who don't watch a lot of basketball, but they just sort of follow it on Twitter, are watching it now because they're home. And it's just one game after another. And I think the other thing that I like about it is you're seeing guys that you don't see regularly. Like, I don't think a lot of NBA fans watch a lot of Devin Booker, right? Phoenix isn't on national TV unless you have League Pass, unless you're like diehard. And, if you were sitting there in the afternoon, you came home from work today and Devin Booker's, making plays against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, I do think it's going to increase the profile of a lot of players because of that.
Ethan, the whole world finally found out the Raptors are really good.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? It's the wildest thing ever. I'm like, wait, you guys didn't realize? Like, I feel like so many people just realize, holy shit, the Raptors are awesome. Like, yeah. Why do you think they're a 2 seed after a year of injuries galore? Somehow they're still the 2 seed. Is because Nick Nurse should be coach of the year. Right. Like, I don't think it's even close with Coach Bud. And who was the other guy who tied?
Billy Donovan's had a good year with OKC.
Yeah, but
I think Chris Paul has more to do with that. But
he's
had a good year. But it should be Nick Nurse. But you're right. I do think that a lot of people don't follow it because, look, what did ESPN and TNT put on all year? Zion
Lakers
and LeBron.
And
Zion
Knicks.
and LeBron. That's it. And then Zion was out. So you were showing a bunch of Pelicans games without Zion. So there you go.
How many people thought the Raptors were all about Kawhi?
Right. I mean, they were last year, though. That's the thing. But that shows how versatile that organization is. And like listen, I went through this whole thing on Twitter fighting Raptors fans about what organization is better, the Heat or the Raptors. And one of my things is, like, both of these organizations are great, but I was having an issue with Raptors fan just saying that Pat Riley is trash and Masai is God. Like, see, now you've ruined the credibility of your whole argument. Like, we can be respectful of the both franchises, whatever. So what it shows is the versatility of that franchise and that coaching staff to lose Kawhi Leonard after one of the greatest playoffs of all time, literally Jordan-esque, and still be a top 2 seed in the East, and honestly, I think right now are the best team in the East.
Probably the best team in the East right now. All right, let's close this one up. Then, Mark, I want you to tell people where they can find you again.
Sure.
After we're through 3 games, and I know it's not definitive, we've got to see how Jimmy comes back, see what's up with Dragic's ankle. But after 3 games, Mark, I'll start with you and then to Alf. Have your expectations changed for how far this team can go?
For me, they haven't. I really do believe that these seeding games are just Spo, tinkering and reevaluating what he's got before they really get down to business and go into the playoffs. I think that's why you see, again, him getting away from Myers and changing, his starting lineup today with Kelly. Yesterday, I forgot his name that they started. Just tinkering around and just kind of just seeing where everybody's at. Again, one can't deny the long layoff, and as much as they may have been doing some level of practicing on their own, at the end of the day, most of these guys were home for the last 3 months. And so, even having these games right now, I think it's an evaluation. This is like an extended preseason. and we know what's at stake. And I think that Spo's comfortable, with wherever they land in the playoffs, because again, it's just a matter of their expectations as much as it is. So for me, I would say, to go back to your question, that my expectations haven't changed. I think that they can surprise a lot of people. It's a neutral court. We've got great shooting. We got shooters, to quote our buddy, and I think that that's really going to change the dynamic of how it plays out for us.
All right, Alf, put a bow on it. You change your view?
I have not. I have not. Where I feel like the Heat are a second round team with the right matchup, maybe an Eastern Conference Finals team. What I will say is, if the Heat continue this trend defensively, it will change my opinion on how far they can go, because they have legitimately been a top 2 defensive team in the bubble after Toronto. Mm-hmm. They've been almost elite in that standpoint, where nobody else is allowing this kind of points per game, these kind of field goal percentages. So yeah, if they continue to do this, listen, I'm not going to take 3 games and place it against the greater sample size and say that the Heat are an elite defensive team now. But if they continue to do this through 8 games, with the current personnel after their truncated off preseason, then I will say I have a bigger belief in them than I did going into this.
They are kind of what I thought they would be going into the bubble. I did think they had some advantages that I think they have exploited so far. I think the biggest thing that's changed my view, it hasn't changed it. It's validated a little bit, is that I did think Milwaukee was going to come back to the pack in the Eastern Conference a little bit, because they would lose some momentum and because some of their older guys would get held out a little bit or take longer to get into shape. And I think that is playing out. And I think the more that plays out, because really in the regular season, we can talk about good Toronto is, Milwaukee was head and shoulders above everybody else. But if they've come back to the pack a little bit, where it's more of a grouping of Milwaukee and Toronto and Boston, and I can put Miami right there, then I think they've got a shot. All right, Mark, wheelfix.com. Give them the phone number too.
305-748-0112. And it's at the letter U, break room, wheel, like car wheel, fix, you break, wheel fix. You can find us on any of the social media platforms, anything from YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, to name a few. We're easily accessible, and we'd love to earn your business.
Yeah,
we are proud sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and we look forward to continuing our partnership. We've got another great contest planned for August, so yep. I'm sure, Ethan, you'll share that with your listeners, and we look forward to hearing more great content.
I'll try, Mark, not to give it away this time so soon. We'll hold it out a little bit. We are gonna run a promotion over the next couple of weeks. So be sure to check that out, and check out the Vice colors too. Support our sponsors, please, because that's what keeps us going. And as you can see, we're going 5 days a week now. And if you want to sponsor us, reach out to me directly. You know where to find me. 5 Reasons Sports, Twitter. Just DM me, and we'll get the conversation started. All right, everybody, have a good day. Heat 2-1. In the bubble, Milwaukee on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.